dreaming a new horizon and a day it all came true. Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, oh home sweet home, home sweet home.
Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. I appreciate you tuning in. There's a lot of things you can be doing on this Saturday morning. Listening to me, listening to one of our shows on all of the different platforms these days. We're kicking it out to iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. What else can we do? I haven't quite graduated yet, I don't think, to Snapchat or TikTok or XYZ because I'm old and I'm still getting used to Facebook, so let alone everything else. But today, I have a good friend that I've got to know recently, Nate Woods. Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome to the Keller Williams team, buddy.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here. Love it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I loved this show probably more than anything else. I just love introducing people to the world, and you know, we've grown rapidly. We're the fastest and the largest, fastest growing and the largest real estate company in all of North Central Washington. We're pushing 70 real estate brokers now.
Oh man!
And every month we're getting more and more traction. It's almost like we're a legit company.
Well, that's good to hear.
Two and a half years later. Yeah.
Glad I joined with a real company.
Yeah, right. We're not fictitious. It actually exists. And you know, it's from Canada. We have people in Canada, almost to Canada, the Canadian border, Republic, all the way to Leavenworth to Ephrata. So, nice. And everything in between. And that's neat because we're a company that's for agents by agents. It's a very different concept, and it's probably... Well, it's been proven. We're the largest real estate company on the planet as a franchise. We're in about 56 countries and climbing, about 180,000 agents.
Nice.
And essentially it's the same system just about everywhere, which is really, again, for the brokers. Traditionally, companies historically, as you might know, have been more top-down, my way or the highway. I've been in the business 32 years, so, you know, I've always tried to run teams, but we were all traditional, and we all kind of had a different mindset. As the world has evolved in real estate, I think it's now about a consumer experience. So I'm curious, Nate, maybe you could just share some things with me and maybe share some things with the people that don't know who Nate Woods is. What makes you tick?
Yeah, no problem. I guess kind of what makes me tick is... my family. They've been my priority number one from the get-go. Just recently had our first kid.
Nice.
Yeah, back in
Congrats.
October. Going to be one here pretty soon. So, yeah, that's changed motivation levels and everything for me completely. You know, seeing what I can do for other families in the area and other people, and I have a nice new scope about things, and so that really helps. And I've always been taught to like take everything that I can and do everything that I can to the best of my abilities. You know, my parents, they showed me that, especially my upbringing. And so, yeah, that's kind of what makes me tick at the moment. We'll see what happens.
No, you grew up. Did you grow up here?
Yeah. I grew up in Eastern Washington. I'm actually from the Tri-Cities.
Okay.
I grew up there.
Right.
And then I moved up here. I had a little familiarity with Wenatchee area for sports. I'd come up here, and you know, we do a lot of sporting activities up here in Wenatchee. And then I moved up here. I was supposed to manage Sherwin-Williams, and then I fell in love with Wenatchee because, you know, who wouldn't in their right mind fall in love with Wenatchee when you see it, and then you get to know the people, how inviting everything is, how great the community is. So. Yeah,
and
here now.
And you, and you know, I tell you what, that gives you a pretty unique experience. You know, I was one of those guys. I grew up in Chelan, so my whole life practically. Almost all my adult life in real estate has been in Chelan until we did Keller Williams, and we expanded now. But that gave me some strengths. But I've always said that it also gives people, they have some opportunities if they've moved to an area to really understand what it's like for other people that are moving to the area.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of get that perspective. And then as you learn, now you've been here a few, how many years you been in Wenatchee now?
I've been here close to 4 years now.
Yeah, so like 4 years later, you kind of have the best of both worlds, where you know the town real well, and you also have a lot of connections in the Tri-Cities. So it's really cool that people bring this integrity and what you're talking about with that familial connection. And if I remember right, you have a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yeah, there's 9 of us kids in my family. Right. So, yeah,
where do you fit
all blood related.
Where do you fit in the 9?
It's weird. I always was the middle child, but now after because my family it goes from 35 to 5. Wow. So after that second, we call it the second family. After they all came, I became the third oldest. So kind of unique.
Right.
Yeah. So I grew up as a middle child, but now I'm the third oldest. So kind of different perspective.
Yeah, I bet that is. And that's so cool, because to me, I was an oops baby. So my sister Kelly, I have 2 older sisters, and I was kind of the oops baby. So I was kind of raised a little later in life, right? Like the second set. But by being kind of like an only child in that respect, but my best friend, growing up, Frank Phelps, he's in Chelan too, but he was 9 of 9.
Oh man,
kids. And so,
wow.
And we were close. We went K through 12 together, and then we both played basketball at Wenatchee Valley, and then we actually lived together at Central for a while. And so it was always interesting, because in his family, I'll tell you a funny story. His mom she was a beautiful person, passed away, but she was a beautiful person, and she made everything from scratch.
Oh, nice.
Right? And then my mom worked at a bank, and my dad worked, and so I was kind of a latchkey kid.
Okay,
so I'd go to lunch in elementary school, and I'd have the Twinkies, and he would have the homemade bread something, and we'd always swap.
I understand that. What's funny is I grew up with really young parents. So me and my older siblings, we have a totally different life experience compared to these younger ones. My dad became more successful. My mom, she already had a bunch of kids, so now she's really good at being the mom and structured and everything like that at the home now. And so very, very different upbringings. I would be the kid that was had the kind of a junk food, or didn't have the homemade meals always. And now these kids, my little brother and sisters, we call them spoiled, but really they're just blessed, right?
Right. It's all about perspective and whether you're
completely different upbringings.
Well, I had kids pretty early. My daughter's now 20. What is she? 28, and my son's 23. I was 21, and their mom was 20 at the time, so we were pretty young.
Yeah.
And it does change things.
Yeah.
And it's exciting time for you.
Yeah, I would. Well, because I always was. My parents, they had their kids. Started the family pretty young too, and then I remember being 20, 21. They're like, "When are you gonna have a kid?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I feel pretty young to be having a kid."
Right.
And now I'm 29, and so it's a little different. I feel young, but I also feel like the right age, so we'll see how that turns out. Maybe I'm still a little young.
Hey man, I'm 51. I'm just getting started.
Nice.
Maybe not with kids again.
Yeah,
maybe
still living young.
Hey,
though, right?
Whatever's meant to be is meant to be, right?
If
I'm, I think it's a blessing. I think you have the sincerity. One thing that if I said, if what do you think of Nate? When I first met you, I could tell that you were a sincere, integrity-based human and cared about people.
Oh man, thanks.
And it's after a while you can kind of tell when someone's ego-driven, or when someone is really coming from a place of humility and a learning-based mentality. Where we realize that one thing about our culture is that we try to, and be learning-based, we try to embrace the fact that everybody brings something to the table. And the fact that we're growing to be as large as we are and continue to grow, and we have big plans to continue to even grow much bigger, but it's great because it's like a melting pot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And as long as we have that culture where we can all work together, and we can all, the person that's been in the business one day can teach the person like myself, has been in the business 32 years. I
Yeah.
mean, it's true. I mean, it's true. I learn from everyone every single day because in the grand scope, I'm just a speck, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not that important. You know, I think in helping people, right? Like you said, you want to help families
Oh, yeah.
and help others realize that dream of real estate. That's a very
Yeah.
powerful thing.
Yeah, and you talk about experience. I mean, like getting back to that one point where we discussed about moving into Wenatchee, and as you know, so many people are moving from out of state or out of Wenatchee into Wenatchee right now, and it's sometimes nice for them to relate to somebody that's also shared in that experience.
Yes.
Like, hey, what can I expect? What do I need to know? Because this area is really different compared to a lot of areas across the United States, even within our own state as well too.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I think it's a very, very good point. And I believe it's just starting. And we were talking about how people that sometimes, like I said about myself, sometimes by growing up in an area, I'm a little bit skewed, and I have to make sure that I constantly open my mind up to what's the experience like for other people that maybe don't. My grandmother came from Missouri on a covered wagon.
Yeah.
She passed away at 101, and
Oh, man.
she. And my dad was raised in Manson, and my mom was the Manson Apple Blossom Princess in 1956.
Oh man, that's really cool.
And
That's really cool.
And I had a whopping 22 kids in my senior class, of which 16 of
Man.
us were K through 12. Like, my perspective is pretty small. I joke around and I say often that some people are worldly. I'm more countyly. I know where Eniat's at, right?
Yeah, well, hey, you're pretty, like, you embrace everybody, and that's what keeps you away from being that little small county person.
Yeah. The big fish, little pond. Not that I was always like that. I had to learn some things. But hey, when we come right back, I appreciate it. I really am enjoying having you as a partner. I'm excited to see things you're going to do. We'll be right back with another segment with Nate Woods, Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends, in just a few seconds.
Home sweet home.